mail yet. No mail, sorry. No Chewy deliveries. Good afternoon, YouTube. My name is Will. There's Enzo. Made this video to answer some car washing questions and ended up going pretty long. So there are some kind of stop points if you are trying to like jump around the video. I put some white screens in there, so hopefully that helps. I know the lighting's a little dark, so forgive me on there. It was inside. But basically, I hope you guys get some help out of this. For those of you who have been following along, the Evo is going to the shop this week, so I am going to be doing some prep work on that. I might record some videos. I might record myself doing some work with it, but I'm not sure if I'm going to take the time to edit and post the videos unless people find it useful, in which case I don't care to do it. Other than that, next weekend is the shootout. Originally, I was going Friday. I might still go Friday. Now I might just go Sunday to the races since it's looking more and more like Enzo can't go. And if he can't go, he was the big reason I was going Friday. So he'd have the grass and all that stuff. Other than that, I hope you guys get something out of this video. Let me know if you've got any questions about my processes. If you are using any other products that I'm not using. Most of my stuff is chemical, guys. But if you're using something else that's working well, especially if it's cost effective, definitely comment below. Let me know, let other people know. Contact info is below. All the social networks, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Instagram is best, by the way. Come on, buddy. What's up, YouTube? My name is Will. This here, guarding the door, is Enzo. Yeah, you know your name. Yeah. Alright, I know we're indoors. It's way too hot to be outside, but I wanted to go ahead and shoot this. So, sorry if the lighting isn't great. I turned on all the lights that are down here. It's still not stellar. I had somebody ask me recently what they could do to wash their newly acquired Evo, especially since they don't have a garage. While not overly large, I do have a garage now. That wasn't the case when I bought this car though, so I can definitely understand where this person is coming from. As you can see here, I've got quite the arsenal, which I'm gonna go over some of it. It's not completely necessary for you to have all this stuff, especially starting out. Beside answering their question that I went ahead and made this video is that I actually gotta get the Evo prep, because if you've watched the previous video, you know that next week this is going into the shop. So I wanna get it nice and protected. It's been in the garage for over a year. I kept saying, oh, I'll get to it eventually. And I have washed it several times, but still just occasionally gets pushed out for a couple days, or here and there, it gets rained on, comes back in, dust comes in, all that stuff, plus the floor, dust comes from the ceiling. What I want to do is a complete decontamination. Well, first I want to do a wash, then a decontamination, both chemical and physical. Then I'm going to put probably a coat of, well, then I'm going to actually do some mild paint correction. Then I'm probably going to go a little crazy and do a glaze, a sealant, and a wax. You don't need to do all that stuff. Really, I'm going to tell you what the minimum stuff I would buy if I was to do this over again, at least to start out. What I would maybe do if it's something you know you're going to be more passionate about, and then what I would maybe do if you want to be a little more crazy like me. Everything that I talk about, I'll put a link in the video. If you do click on the link, it doesn't affect you in any way. I do get a small commission from Amazon. It lets me buy more stuff to wash my car, basically. Really, it lets me buy more stuff for Enzo. I know, it's just so sad. Not anything fun. It's like we didn't even go for a hike today. He was all excited. He thought we were gonna like go somewhere because I was like getting stuff ready, and then he realized, oh wait, we're not. You're just gonna wash the car. Okay, I don't care about that. If you hadn't noticed, most of my stuff is chemical, guys. I like the consistency. Not everything I have is chemical, guys, and I'm not saying you need to use them. There's plenty of other good brands out there. Now, if I get something of chemical, guys, and I use it and I'm not that fond of it, I generally don't buy it again. There's also the simplicity. If you're like me, you shop a lot on Amazon. It's just easier. Their stuff is sold on Amazon, where some of the other ones like Adams and such. I've actually wanted to try Adams, but every time I think like, oh, I need this. Oh, let me try like Adams. I realize I have to actually go to their website and buy it and then do all this stuff, and it's just like, I'm just lazy and I just order off Amazon. That being said, nothing wrong with other companies. A lot of them have good products. Sometimes Chemical Guys is the best, sometimes they're not. But anything that I say today I've had good results with. Okay, let's start with the bare minimum. You're gonna need at least 2 buckets. Now, you can buy like just painter's buckets at Walmart or Lowe's or Home Depot, wherever. Honestly though, buckets that are generally car cleaning specific, they're a little bit smaller, they're a little bit cheaper, and they will fit with the grit guards better. No matter what, no matter how advanced you're gonna go, you need at least 2 buckets. I actually have 3. I use one for the wheels and tires. You don't technically have to. I wouldn't use one of these for the wheels and tires, but you don't technically need a bucket for your wheels and tires, especially if you've got a hose or a pressure washer. If you don't have a hose or a pressure washer, then you're definitely gonna need a 3rd bucket. You don't need lids or wheels or anything like that. I will say it is kind of convenient. I have one on the wheels with the lid. I use it to sit on, especially when I'm doing like wheels and tires, or if I'm doing any paint correction on lower body panels. It is nice, but you don't need it. So a couple buckets, they're like, I don't know, $6-7 each, not gonna be bad. Then you're gonna need a soap. You lose your ball? All right, let me stop what I'm doing and get your ball. Oh wow, they're all under there. Aside from buckets, you're gonna need soap. Now I've got a bunch of different kinds in here. Any of them are fine. I will say that some of them that specifically mention more suds are going to be a little bit nicer, like Maxi Suds or Citrus Wash, especially if you're not using a pressure washer. For those of you who don't know though, most of your scratches don't come from washing, it comes from drying. So we'll talk about that more in a minute. The one thing I would suggest is make sure it is a pH balanced soap that you're getting. If you can have a hose, I would suggest a rubber one. This is Craftsman. You can usually catch them on sale, or you can get like any rubber hose will work. Rubber is going to hold up a lot better. It's a little bit heavier. And then I would suggest getting one of these on the end. It makes your life a whole lot easier because you can just open and close the valve right from it. One thing though is I don't actually use this hose as much now because of Enzo. You don't want your pets to drink out of it, because the rubber will it can affect them. So in those instances, just go to Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever and just get a really high quality hose. So this is the one I use most of the time, to be honest, and it's fine. Make sure it's got like good connections on it. It's not gonna hold up as well. I think this is the second one I've had in a few years. They usually last me about 1.5 to 2 years. Whereas the rubber hose will last me pretty much forever. So if pets are not a concern, I would just get the rubber hose. If they are, get something like that. You can get by with nothing, especially if you have something like this, because you can open these partially and that'll give you a lot of pressure. And then you can just obviously open it all the way to get wider streams. So if you're really trying to go bare bones, or, well, hello, buddy. Thank you. Enzo likes it when I wash cars because usually we go outside and he gets to hang out. Sometimes he gets a little soap on him. Yeah. Okay, now wheels. These are the tools I would suggest you get if nothing else. This is going to be really good for just cleaning the wheels. This little brush here, and they're very inexpensive, like $6-7. And then a little speed wheel thing for getting in the barrels and everything. This is super handy. This one's about worn out. That's actually a little bit more. It's probably going to run you like 15 or 20, but I would still suggest you get one. You can get wheel brushes like for doing lug nuts and stuff. These are super helpful, but not necessary. I like them, but again, if I'm just as cheaply as possible, I'm going to get these two and stop there for now. Also, as much as I like some wheel cleaners and I've gone back and forth, you don't have to have a wheel cleaner. I mean, your car cleaners, they're not as strong. So, I mean, generally you want something stronger for wheels, but you don't have to, especially if you're washing it regularly. I've gone plenty of times with just using my normal car soap. So don't feel like you have to buy a wheel cleaner. This also goes for glass as well. You can just use your normal car soap. You don't have to buy a special glass cleaner. You don't have to buy special plastic cleaners and stuff. If you're just trying to do this as simple as possible to start out, don't worry about all that. Just get a good soap and move on. Let that do everything. All right, let's talk about towels and wash mitts. Now, as you'll see, I've got quite a few, and these are just the ones I use. I've also got some new ones that are still unopened. For washing, I would get something like this. I personally like these little wash mitts. They're usually like $5-6, and they last a pretty good amount of time. I would get more than one to start with. That way you can have one for like the lower portion of the body of the car, or you can get one of these too. These are pretty good as well. You can use this for the entire car. I just like these a little bit better, and I've got a few of them. Basically, I've got ones for different cars. That's why they're different colors. And then I've got these for doing like the lower ends of the body. Now that we've got the car washed, we're going to want to do some decontamination. Now, you can do a physical decontamination. That's going to be something like clay bars, which I have here. Or it's going to be like one of these like auto scrub type bricks. I like these a little bit better. They're just easier to hold. There are times where, for whatever reason, this won't get whatever it is I'm trying to get off, and clay will, and vice versa. I like having them both, but again, if you're just starting out, I would just get one, and honestly, I would get this one. It's cheaper, it lasts longer. If you drop it, you can wash it, whereas clay, if you drop it, you got to throw it away. You're less likely to, in my experience, to mar your paint with this than you are clay, but you are probably going to mar it with both of them, but it's going to be less with this. Now, there are chemical decontaminations, but again, we'll talk about those in a moment. This is really just for the basic starting out. So we've washed the car, we've decontaminated. You're going to need like a lubricant, which is like this. This comes as a package with both the sponge and this, and it's cheaper than buying just the sponge by itself, so it makes sense just to buy that. One bottle will easily get you through a couple cars, even if you're being generous. So I would do that, and again, I'll have the link below. Once you've got all that decontaminated, then you need to put sealant on. I've got a couple different sealants. I've got like Jet Sealer, I've got M Sealer. They both work great. According to some online testing and some of my own personal experience, the Jet Seal does last a little bit longer. So I tend to use this more, obviously. And if you're using it by machine, it's going to go even longer. Lastly, we're going to go back over to our towels. As I mentioned, this is where you can do the most damage as far as scratching your car. I've got different towels for different reasons, but you don't have to have all these right at the beginning. Honestly, you could just buy these and use everything for these. I would separate them out, certain ones for wheels and the body and like sealants, which is going to be really hard because they're all the same color. So you're going to have to keep track, but you can do it. That said, if you've got, towels aren't that expensive. Like I've got these for doing body work. I've got these for wheels and tires. And then I've got these bigger, thicker ones for like sealants. And then these are more for interior. I don't usually use these that often though. When I was just starting out, actually I just had these, which aren't even the most ideal. And I used to wash my entire car outside with these. These are so much easier. You really don't want like a super thick towel when you're drying your car. These are helpful when you're like removing sealants, but you actually want these more thinner ones. When you're drying, they absorb better. I don't know the whole science behind it, but just trust me, thinner is better. And you can get a pack of these. They're pretty cheap. They come in like packs like this. So I think there's like 3 in here. I would say probably get at least 2 packs when you're starting out, especially if your car is really dirty. You know, I'm at a point now where I wash my cars frequently enough. I use a pressure washer and I use some drying agents, so I can wash an entire car like the Focus ST and use like 2 towels, seriously, sometimes if it's not that dirty. But starting out, you're actually going to use more towels. I did my mother-in-law's 4Runner last weekend, and I used like 10 towels on that. So, other thing you might want to consider, if this is like a car you've just recently bought, it's older, you know, it's really filthy, is some of the Amazon Basic towels, which you'll see in here. I have these as kind of throwaway towels. I used to use them as wheel towels, which is why some of them are really dirty. For example, my mother-in-law's car, which I wash maybe like once a year or twice a year when she asks me, there'll be some portions like the door jambs, which are just so filthy that I'll just use some Amazon Basic towels and I'll just throw them away. I don't even worry about them at that point. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Drying is where you actually do the most damage. So if you're going to cheap out anywhere, don't let it be the towels. The towels are not that expensive. Please, please, please do not buy nothing but Amazon Basic microfibers. Only buy those as an extra thing, as throwaways. Buy some good microfibers. Even if you end up, your car's so dirty that even just using them on the upper levels of paint, you end up going through some, that's okay. If anything, buy cheaper buckets, buy cheaper soap, buy cheaper sealant, but buy nice towels. Buy good quality towels. And like I said, they're not that expensive. I think the pack of 3 is like $6 or $7. So, I mean, you're probably starting out going to spend $20 in towels at least. But I promise you that's going to do the best use of your money. And then, not that anybody cares, but these towels here are just random towels that I mostly use to wash Enzo with. If anybody's interested. Those are like terry towels and stuff. Don't use those on your car. When I was a kid, I did. There's worse things you could do, but don't. It's not good. Oh, you got soccer ball now? You know the World Cup's over, I think. I don't know. I don't follow soccer. Okay, I'm using the iPhone for this video. Sometimes I use it. Sometimes I use the GoPro. And I guess when I shot this whole portion the other day, I had the front-facing camera on, or vice versa. Anyway, so it was bad. Footage was useless. I just wanted to wrap this portion up real quick and go over everything one last time. So, if you just want to do very basic starting out, you're going to need at least 2 buckets. I would also suggest getting the grit guards. Not that much more expensive. You can even buy the earlier generation ones. I'll link them both in. This is the newer Vortex ones. I don't know that it necessarily makes a difference. These look cool. I've got them both, and they both work well. If you have the ability, like you don't live like in an apartment community or anything, definitely get a good hose. Rubber if you can. If not, if you've got pets or kids, then just get whatever the best looking one at Lowe's or Home Depot, whatever it is. And then obviously the little adapters on the hose, definitely get those. Those are super cheap and just one of those little things in life that make things better. At minimum, I would get the 2 wheel brushes. I would get this one here for the wheels and tires. This is really cheap. And then this is going to be a little bit more expensive, but it's going to get in the wheel barrels and all that. So definitely get those. You can get other ones too, but those are the minimum. Towels are the most important. If you can only get one, get these. But if you can get a couple, I would, just to make things easier. One for wheels and tires, engine bay, real dirty stuff. And then other ones for like body work. And then you can have ones for like clay or wax and sealant and all that stuff. You can even have like interior ones and such. But at least start off with like 2. So you can kind of tell them apart. I don't think I talked about this earlier, but for putting waxes and sealant on by hand, little applicators, you can use a microfiber, but if you're trying to limit how many microfibers you buy, having a couple of these handy is super helpful. And then wash mitts. Again, sorry buddy. I like to have a couple of them, but at least one, or you can go like with these ones here as well. They both work good. They're both about the same cost. I like these for the lower portion for some reason. I don't know. And I use these for the rest of the body. And then I've got different ones for different cars. You don't have to do that, obviously. Additionally, you're going to need some clay lube and a sponge scrubber or clay itself. I prefer this combo here. It's going to run you around 20 bucks. I like it better than clay if I only have to pick one. I do like having both, but if you're just going to get one, I would get that one. And finally, some sealant. Jet Seal is the one that I typically use. I've got a couple others. There's nothing wrong with wax. Wax just isn't going to hold up as long as a sealant will typically. So I would go with a sealant, especially if you don't have a garage and you want to do this as little as possible. You can do like spray sealants. I actually just ordered a new spray sealant that I'll be trying out. If I'm only going to have one, definitely have like a real sealant that you put on. It's going to last longer. And you're going to, especially if you don't have a garage, you're going through all this effort in one day or something or in pieces. Do that and make it last longer, definitely. I think that pretty much covers what I cut out in the video. I do know from the short editing that I've done thus far, this video is way too long, so I may end up trimming some of it. I don't know, but I'll definitely have all the basic stuff in there.